There we go. I think I got sound. Thanks for bearing with me. Oh, this is going to be a disaster, but I don't care. Um, you can sort of hear me now? Yeah, you can. There it is. Professor Matthews, learning about movies. Here's a spreadsheet. Didn't you bet you didn't think a spreadsheet was going to show up? I'm not muted, am I? You can hear me. Can you hear me now? I'm only seeing you're muted in the chat. Um, this should be working. There it is. All right. So I've been going through 1990s movies. I have almost a master list on Letterboxd of my favorite 1990s movies. It's almost 300 movies long. I haven't released it, but I will. Um, and soon, because I'm almost done with 1999. So going through the Oscars year by year, releasing those videos, and trying to pick the best picture of the year as if I were a voter in each year. It's a little silly, in my opinion, to give award for the best movie because art isn't really in a contest with itself, not necessarily. But anyway, it's still fun to do, still fun exercise, in my opinion. So I made this spreadsheet of the worst or best movies of the 1990s, the decade I sort of grew up in, sort of. And I was interested in this question, like, did they get anything right or wrong with the Oscars? How bad are the Oscars at nominating Best Pictures? Of course, in the last year, the 2025 Oscars, a little bit of controversy, as there always is, about what was nominated. So anyway, in the 1990s, they only had 5 nominees for Best Picture. And I think it was 2009 or 10, they moved to 10 nominees, widening the field. And 5 was, and I think it was probably most of movie history, pretty limiting, pretty small list of 5 versus 10. Anyway, I made a spreadsheet. I think this is fun. So the spreadsheet is doing this, and it's going to get to this question, which has 2 possible answers at least. What's the worst Best Picture nominee of the 1990s? And I'll tell you the 2 ways you can look at this. One is if you want to say the worst quality movie, whatever quality means, according to your taste, according to certain set standards, worst quality movie overall. That is one way to answer this question, what's the worst nominee? But there's another way. And the other way is to say, well, which movie was the worst in its context? In other words, like for 1990, if you look at this chart, Ghost is the lowest rated according to aggregate movie rating sites, which have their problems, okay? But that's the worst one. Were there like 5 better movies to put in there? Or were there like 50 better movies to put that could go ahead of Ghost? So in its context in 1990, maybe Ghost really was like the 10th best movie or something like that. Or it could have been the 50th best. And that could make it the worst because there are so many other possible movies to nominate. So I hope you understand the difference there. The worst overall movie in the 90s, no matter the context, worst quality, whatever that means. And then the worst in its context, because there could have been 50 other movies to nominate instead of that movie. And that could lead us to 2 different answers to this question. So what I did, I listed the nominees each year, 1990, which would be the 1991 Oscars. So you need to add 1 year for which Oscar year it is. 1990 movies, 1991 Oscars. And then I went to the aggregate rating sites. 2 of them. I know there are others. I don't like Rotten Tomatoes. I think Rotten Tomatoes is like now giving out tomatoes ridiculously. They are, it's like Amazon. If it's less than 4.5 stars, that's not a good product. So anyway, Letterboxd is out of 5. IMDb is out of 10. Little 2 different kinds of, I think, crowds at those sites, and IMDb has been around a lot longer. So I put the numbers in there, and then I did an average of them, which is the combined chart. And what I found was, according to both sites and both sites combined, that the ones in yellow are the lowest. You can think of it as 7.1 out of 10. And so, look, Goodfellas, crushing it. 8.9 is super duper high. 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 8 point, that's great for aggregate ratings. You may or may not disagree. You may hate Goodfellas. It's fine. But I'm looking at the masses at this moment. 7.1 for Ghost. 1991 has 2 6.7s. That's low. So if you get below 7 on these sites, as some of you know, you go to IMDb and you see a movie and it's 6.5 out of 10. That's actually not great there. It's pretty low. That could be a bad movie. On Letterboxd, to me, if it's like under 3.5 out of 5, that could be bad. So it's around the 7 out of 10 that both of these sites are kind of saying things are going from pretty good to mediocre to maybe not good at all. So the lowest rated ones are Ghost, Prince of Tides, Bugsy, 91, Crying Game, 92. I put that one in there, but 7.2 was okay. 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and a stacked 1994 list. And then the biggest surprise was Babe. I had no idea people did not like this movie this much. That's pretty low for what I thought was a movie that was family friendly for kids, cute talking animals, and it may just be that talking animals weird some people out. I'm speculating. I think that might be it. So then I have to go all the way down here. There's a couple. Jerry Maguire is lowish, and Full Monty, but that's not bad. And Shakespeare in Love, which won Best Picture in 1998 over these other ones. And then in 1999, The Cider House Rules, bringing me to this conclusion. Hopefully you can see it, that these are the worst. Now, according to the numbers, I'm not saying anything about what I think yet. I'm not saying anything about what you think. You can put your comments in the comments. If you have any questions or comments, put them down. Which movies do you think are the worst? If you've seen any of these. And I even pulled, as you can see, my YouTube channel, whoever looks at the comments, the sort of general channel comments on YouTube, which is the worst, but I could only put 4 choices in there. So YouTube only let me put 4 out of these 7 here, and the lowest ones of all were The Prince of Tides, Bugsy, Babe, and Shakespeare in Love. And Shakespeare in Love, by far, sort of, 170 votes, unscientific poll, but got 80, 90 votes out of 170, whatever it is. I think there's a lot more now, or there's some more now. Shakespeare in Love is getting the worst of it all on my channel's polling. So maybe that is the worst, because this might be a third way to think about it, because not only is it nominated, but it won. So the other question is, what's the worst that won? I got to go through and remember these. And it's Silence of the Lambs, Unforgiven, Schindler's List, Forrest Gump, I think won, Braveheart, which a couple people don't like, but it's crushing it, or doing quite well in aggregate ratings. So there's that. The English Patient, that's a weaker one for sure. I think we all look back at 96, 97 Oscars, like, why the English Patient? Some people like it, no doubt. But Fargo got me, sorry. And then Titanic won, Shakespeare in Love won, and then American Beauty. I didn't put the winners in here, but Shakespeare in Love is the worst, by far, winner in the 1990s. And probably, if I did this over 30, 40, 50 years, it would be one of, well, since about 1970, just 70 to 2000, it would probably be the worst, still one of the worst 3 Oscars movies to win Best Picture. Now, again, you might like it. It's all great and fine. I'm just saying, look at Letterboxd not liking Shakespeare in Love. I didn't go check the reasons why, or why people said they didn't like it, but this is it. So, maybe the worst is, in fact, Prince of Tides or Bugsy, because they're the lowest. And truth be told, if I look at the whole list here, which ones do I dislike the most? Which, it's a taste thing. I could probably defend it. Which would I would not want to watch again? I have watched all of these, almost all of these in the last few months. And a couple of these I've seen a million times, like The Thin Red Line, so I don't need to rewatch that. But I've watched all of these, and if I had to pick one I wouldn't ever want to rewatch again, it would probably be The Prince of Tides. I'm a little bit interested in the subject matter in Bugsy, and some of the stuff that goes on there to like that sort of enough to rewatch it. I do not want to see Prince of Tides again. And honestly, I don't remember it that well. It's in Criterion's collection, and Barbra Streisand is the director, which I think is one of the selling points for it to be in Criterion. But so it's been immortalized in the Criterion collection, but there it sits, and people on both sides don't like it that much. So probably that's the worst one. But then I did something else. All right. Just, you have to bear with me on this one. I'm trying to figure out what's the worst. The worst in context. Let me get my face here. There we go. So the worst in context. Okay, that's a big spreadsheet now. So we got this. And in 1991, as you can see, I just went through, again, not my opinions, I went through the ratings and listed Letterboxd's ratings and then sorted by Letterboxd and IMDb. And, by the way, go ahead and subscribe to my Substack or my Letterboxd or follow me there or both. It's all great. Terminator 2, Thelma and Louise, Double Life of Veronique, Barton Fink, Boys in the Hood, those look a lot better by ratings than Prince of Tides and Bugsy. So, when you look at this, you go, okay, probably they missed something when they nominated Bugsy instead of Barton Fink, which won the Palme d'Or, I think. Or Terminator 2, which was a big... If they would have had 10 nominees like they do today or in the last 15 years, they would have nominated Terminator 2 100%. But here they didn't. You didn't get a lot of movies like that nominated at this point. You had to wait a little while, maybe almost 10 years. You start to get Lord of the Rings nominated. Well, because Star Wars was nominated in 78 Oscars. But in context, when I looked at 91, I'm like, there's not a lot of movies, as it turns out. I went all the way down to here, and we started getting to the 3.6s, and then there was really almost nothing between Defending Your Life at 3.6 on Letterboxd, and then these two as 3.3s. There's a lot of movies that are in this range from 1991. So there's really not that many movies that they could have nominated over Prince of Tide and Bugsy. But, here's the but, 1998. Shakespeare in Love, 3.3, 7.1. And look at all of these movies that are, at least on Letterboxd, higher than Shakespeare in Love. And I think there's some backlash overkill with hating Shakespeare in Love. I mean, look at these guys, gals, whatever they are, films, and they are rated higher. And there's more. I just stopped right there. You've Got Mail is rated higher than Shakespeare in Love on Letterboxd. Practical Magic, X-Files, it's Stepmom? Okay. Maybe that's overkill, but I found quite a few movies. These were all eligible as well for Oscars. That several of these, probably about that crew right there, could have been nominated over Shakespeare in Love. And when you look back on it, you're like, why wouldn't they have nominated Big Lebowski? Well, it took a while for Big Lebowski to become a really popular success. It had to go through years of VHS, DVD stuff, and people watching on their own, word of mouth, to be liked. I don't think it was liked much at the time. American History X, Truman Show was nominated as for Best Director, but not for Best Picture. So they could have nominated Truman Show, but they didn't. And Shakespeare in Love, I'm fuzzy on this. This is speculation. I got to look this up. I think the Weinsteins were involved in this one, if I remember correctly. So they, at this point, were pumping out movies that were, quote, Oscar bait, or they were more successful getting the movies nominated. That could be part of Shakespeare in Love's success. But in context, Shakespeare in Love, probably a few movies. There are more movies that could have been nominated over it, if you look at that list, than Prince of Tides and Bugsy. So as bad as these might be, in context, it might have been worse to nominate Shakespeare in Love. That's one conclusion you could make from this. But now here's my answer. Now I'm answering the question. What's the worst movie nominated for Best Picture in the 1990s? And it is from 1999. And this is my opinion, of course. You can actually like this movie, and you should defend it. Tell me why it's great. But look at this killer, murderer's row of movies that came out in 1999. Letterboxd likes these, and or IMDb does, including The Matrix, including American Movie. I don't think they would have nominated that. Iron Giant, no, but Magnolia. Oh, why didn't they nominate that? Fight Club. So Cider House Rules is the answer. IMDb likes it decently well. 7.4 out of 10. Not bad. Good. Tells you that could be a pretty good movie, or a lot of people like it. It is a Weinstein movie. Another movie with kind of innocent, lovable, main male character, white guy, and a hot blonde. It's kind of Shakespeare in Love. And not really, but has a few kind of elements that are similar. Thoughtfully written by a literary type. John Irving gets to adapt his novel as a screenplay. Who wrote Shakespeare in Love? Was it Harold Pinter? So playwright. I think that's who it was. Anyway, that's what I mean by literary type gets involved in the writing. So I'm going to close this a little bit so I can get on the screen. And my point being, and this will show up in a later video, that 1999 was pretty freaking awesome. And it has been talked about as one of the greatest movie years ever. Tom Stoppard, thank you. It wasn't Harold Pinter, it was Tom Stoppard. Good job, Dr. David. You're right, on the Shakespeare in Love writer. So my point here is 1999 was great for a lot of people. I will bring this up in the video on, I'm making it. I'm in the process of still watching the movies from this year, 1999. But the 2000 Oscars had American Beauty win, and then a bunch of movies that were ignored but actually liked as time went on, including The Matrix, including Fight Club, etc., etc. So they nominated Cider House Rules over what could be seen as, or has been seen as, a murderer's row. It's not a great metaphor, but of good movies. It's great movies. And if we go on the internet, you ask the internet, what's the best movie year ever? You might get the answer 1999. It comes up in pop culture articles as a candidate or as the year that's the best year ever. And the reason is because there's so many movies. It's the volume of them. I personally don't find there to be many great, like top tier movies in 1999, but there are a lot of pretty good to great or really good movies in that year. I don't like all of them. You probably don't like all of them. When I see this list, it's like a couple of those I don't like so much. But, yeah, so you got Eyes Wide Shut. Someone's pointing that out. Kubrick didn't get nominated, even though people obviously like that. So I would say Cider House Rules 3.4, 7.4, which isn't bad. But when you look at, like, how far down, like that, those are the movies that you could go, yeah, they probably should have nominated that one instead of Cider House Rules. Now, I could go into a whole thing, which could be boring or exciting, about why Cider House Rules in particular is not a great movie. You should try it if you're interested, for sure, because it's a quote-unquote literary movie. And it stars Tobey Maguire as this sort of orphan, Dickensian, Charles Dickens kind of character who grows up in an isolated orphanage. Is it in Maine? It's in New England somewhere. And Michael Caine is the doctor who heads the orphanage. And he is pro-abortion. And it turns out the Maguire character needs to go out into the world, figure out how nasty the world is so they can come back and learn to do abortions. I shouldn't laugh about that, but that's like, okay, that's one element of it. But it is pretty strident in the movie. And he has to learn that the lower class types might need the abortions because is it a spoiler? There's some incest in the movie. Good quote. You Princess of New... Michael Caine. Who can't resist Michael Caine? But when I watch Cider House Rules, my brain has a problem. He has that wonderful Cockney-like accent. Cockney-esque accent, which he modifies from in various movies. But then when he tries to play a New England accent, my brain cannot do the calculation. It takes an hour into the movie for my brain to get used to Michael Caine speaking with an American accent of some kind. It's not. It makes me feel like I went to a mainline Episcopal service. It feels New England liberally. And in the way it proceeds and some of its thematic concerns, and you might like that, or it's not too bad. I'm not saying it's that bad, quite honestly, but it's not as good as, to me, as some of the, like Being John Malkovich is way more interesting intellectually The Iron Giant is more emotionally charged. Fight Club is intellectually and emotionally charged to me. I don't know if Fight Club would have been nominated at this point, by the way. I feel like The Matrix definitely wouldn't. That's just sci-fi, bombastic sci-fi thing in 1999. It would not have been. There was no consideration for that one to be an Oscar. But Being John Malkovich got nominated for Best Director. So it's possible that could have been nominated. Eyes Wide Shut, I don't know if it could have been. Some of you like Telling Minutes to Ripley. That could be better. It's arguably better. I like Office Space. I like Galaxy Quest. I like The Hurricane. October Sky. Even the Scorsese movie has its merits over Cider House Rules. Bringing Out the Dead with Nicolas Cage. You might like that. I like the Alexander Payne movie, Election. I like Jim Carrey and Milos Forman, Man on the Moon. The list just goes on here. So in Toy Story 2, I love that movie. It's one of my favorites. So anyway, when I look at this whole list, to go back of 1990s movies, that's my answer. Cider House Rules. I'm sorry. Tobey Maguire, by the way, 90s. Who was that guy's agent? Because that guy's agent was amazing. He's like in all these these movies that are like Oscar bait, good sorts of movies at that point in time. Like 5 or 6 of them. When you watch late 90s movies, you just keep popping up. And so I think his agent did wonders. But as far as these go, whether these are, I could pick on a couple others here. Babe is not. I disagree with that entirely. Bye. But I'm fine with these as the list, like the worst 6. I see some comments on several other movies here that I think I find them quite interesting. But Ghost is kind of sentimental, schmaltzy, sort of, I think. And so is Prince of Tide. That's real ooey gooey. Ugh. Bugsy. Yeah. Crying Game is but most of these are like, okay. I mean, In the Name of the Father, you all should go check that one out. Everybody watching this should go check that one out. Let me get recommendations. Goodfellas, great. Unforgiven. But In the Name of the Father, that's Daniel Day-Lewis. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. Very, very good movie. Quiz show, very good movie. I love Apollo 13. I really enjoy that one. But when I look at the list, I get to 1990 and I'm like, ugh, really? I'm surprised Sixth Sense made it, but it got a big splash at that time. So some people are saying here, yeah, Mad Movie Mark says this. I actually heard this from a guy who loves movies in my life. I know him physically. It was a prof where I teach, and he said to me 3-4 weeks ago, out of the blue, he said the reason I knew the Oscars were junk is when Shakespeare in Love beat Saving Private Ryan. That's when I knew they were just ridiculous and made no sense. Now, I have a lot of people on the channel and elsewhere saying, I don't love Saving Private Ryan. It says bad messages. I don't know what. They don't like it for various reasons. I didn't like it for a while, quite honestly. I thought it was the book-ended narrative, the frame narrative in that, where it starts with a guy at a graveyard and he's old and then it's a remembrance. I thought that it was like Spielberg sentimentality, but I watched it recently. I really liked it. So I'm higher on that now than I used to be. Saving Private Ryan is not a movie you're allowed to say sucks. I don't know what allowed means. I mean, go ahead and try. Do you mean you'll get trolled? I get the fear of trolls, but why worry about what other people think? More film criticism means more daring voices to challenge the status quo, I suppose. And even I feel like I'm affirming the status quo too much. But then again, maybe a good movie is just kind of it when you see it, and most of these are pretty good. Although I disagree with I don't love Dances with Wolves, but anyway. I should go through here and say what are the best movies. I should rank them. Would you like that? Goodfellas, JFK, Unforgiven, but I feel like a total dude now saying all that. The Fugitive, Shawshank, Apollo 13. I'm a dude. I'm just calling out dude movies. But the truth is, there aren't There aren't too many movies that feature females. Elizabeth is a pretty good movie. I did enjoy that. I hadn't seen that until I watched it a couple months ago, and I thought that was pretty good. Insider's pretty good. I do like Beauty. So anyway, I think to get it that wrong, to go back to this, meant that the Weinsteins were powerful. So when Harvey got taken down, I don't know when that was, a few years ago, that was really something. It was an upending of something that was a big deal. And they are, I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, the Weinsteins were executive producers. So my guess, total speculation, I've not researched this, is that they are the number one, the 1A reason why that's nominated above some other things. Mike Lee could have been nominated for Topsy Turvy. Yeah. I don't think Office Space or Galaxy Quest, but The Hurricane could have been nominated. Norman Jewison is the director of that. I feel like that, given the Denzel performance in that. But I haven't looked at the reviews at the time to see how terrible or great people thought that was. Dr. David says, so this is a good question. Why pick Letterboxd and IMDb? I think they give different flavors, but I would like a third site. So if you can suggest one to me. I'm not big on Rotten Tomatoes, and Metacritic is, I don't know. Maybe we should look at Amazon. I don't love that either. But Dr. David, I think you're probably right to some degree. Film bros who know nothing about Shakespeare. Okay. I have no idea if you're right. Film bros who know nothing about Shakespeare and war movies are cooler than Shakespeare. I feel like there's some aesthetic types over there, like cinephile types, which I'm kind of have half a foot or a whole 3/4 of my foot or whatever in that camp. I feel like IMDb is what you're saying there. I don't know though. IMDb skews pretty heavily male action. Not used to. I haven't studied it too much lately, but in recent years, and since the beginning almost. So Letterboxd has its flaws. And when I look at Letterboxd rating, I'm not. They're down there. I don't know what the agenda is. There might be. Why don't we do this? Let's look at Letterboxd. I can pull this up. I have all the time in the world. Take me a second here. So maybe I should do this for the 80s as well. There we go. Letterboxd. Get this on my screen. And so, what was I doing? Looking at Shakespeare in Love. And let's look at the people what they say about it. I could look at my friends. 2 stars. It's been a little while since I watched it. That one I haven't rewatched. I don't feel like I need to, but maybe I have a different relationship to it. Maybe I'll see something great in it. This is not the thing to do. This is Letterboxd. Loves quick quip one-liners. Why TF was Ben Affleck in this? Okay. Most liked. This beat Private Ryan, really? I don't know why you give a half star just for it winning an award. I need to know why. What? Makes Shakespeare. Okay. Is somebody going to say something holistic about this? I've forgotten how wonderful and clever. Well, you can see we're not getting much here about Barf. Not a lot of defensive. That's 4 stars. Is someone going to write a coherent low-star review? And the answer is no. We're not going to get there for a while. Maybe Andy. Is that the Police guitarist? I have no idea. I don't think so. Nope. Sorry. This is my surfing of Letterboxd. Okay. We're not going to get any coherent description of Shakespeare in Love, why it's not so good. Maybe I'll have to do that. Do I want to take the time to do that? The answer is no. But is someone going to defend it? Oh, this person. We're not using grammar here, so I'm gonna skip over that one. Anyway, look, film criticism is just not in a great state. It's not easy to find stuff that is good and rich. Subscribe to my Substack. I want a defense of this movie is not great. Someone give me a good one. And we're down here to things that have 80 likes. I mean, I don't know. No one's informing me as to why I shouldn't like this or what I should see in this movie that is troubling thematically, formally, technically, politically, theologically, psychologically, socially. I have nothing here to go by. So I'm not happy with this. This is pretty typical, unfortunately. So maybe you're right, Dr. David. Maybe you are right after all. All right. Well, that's my live stream for today. Follow me on Oh, there's my curtain. Cute. Follow me on Letterboxd and Substack. And maybe I'll do this for the 80s because I skipped over the 80s in doing this, and I didn't produce such a video, which I'm usually not negative, but the negative stuff. I thought this was an interesting question. So put this back up. It was an interesting question to deal with. Anybody else have anything else? Any other possibilities? Any other hopes and dreams? These sites don't go towards nuance. No, they don't. It's a lot of adjectival, taste-based reactions, which are fine, just in bulk, I don't love. So, anyway, well, I hope you had a wonderful time, but that's my answer. Forget Cider House Rules. Bye-bye. And Prince of Tides, the two choices. And Babe, start liking Babe on these sites. Bring that score up. It's better than that. Come on, encourage people. Oh, there was a comment. I missed it. Sorry. Was that Daniel both times? Brighter Summer Day. Yes. Guess where that is on my movie list? Saw that you love the Edward Yang film Brighter Summer Day. It's in my 90s list. Where is it? It's pretty high up. You know what? Edward Yang has been proven to be very challenging to find. He has made two great movies, according to many, many people. Yi Yi, Y-I, with the space in between those, and Brighter Summer Day. And yet, curation-wise, you can't find some of his movies, at least in good copies. You can go on YouTube and find some very blurry stuff of the other movies he made. But I would love to see all of his movies in very good format. And so, film curators out there, Edward Yang, there's something wrong with the world if we're not like trying to get all of his material and preserving it. So you say The Day on the Beach, and The Terrorizers. I wonder where I can find those. I don't know. Yeah, I have not. Because even coming across his 90s movies, it's hard to find. I don't really want to watch the blurry YouTube version, so if you can find a good version for me, send it along. I'll be happy to look, but... Oh, they have good Blu-rays? You have to get them from Korea. Absolutely. Well, do they have English subtitles? Because that's the deal. If they don't, then can't translate Korean. Okay, they do. All right, I'll check those out. Thank you very much. I hope that he's got more as well, and there's several of those that are needing curation. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for participating. Hope you have a great day. I think I'm going to go review Alto Nights with Robert De Niro. I think it's better. Should I go to Snow White or Alto Nights? That's this week's choice for me at the local movie theater. So